The storm rolled over Bel Air like a warning from the heavens, thunder cracking against the marble columns of the Mercer mansion. Claire Whitmore tightened her hold around her newborn son, his tiny breath warm against her chest. She felt her stitches pulling, her body still raw from giving birth just 2 weeks earlier, but pain was nothing compared to what she had just seen. Through the half-open study door, she had watched her husband, Logan Mercer, lift Sabrina Vale onto his lap like the world belonged to them. Sabrina laughed, tilting her head back the same way she once mocked Claire for looking too plain. And Logan, her husband, the father of the fragile life in her arms, kissed Sabrina as though Claire had never existed, as though the warning Claire had begged him with months before meant nothing. "If you ever meet her again," she had whispered, "I will walk out with our baby." He met her eyes only once tonight, a cold glance over Sabrina's shoulder, a look that said she wasn't worth an explanation. Something inside Claire broke in a clean, decisive line. Lightning flashed, illuminating the mansion's gold-lined hallways as she limped toward the exit, diaper bag slipping off her shoulder. Every step felt like walking through fire. She had no money, Logan froze her accounts. No family, she grew up in foster care. No car, Logan took the keys. Just her baby and the last piece of courage she had left. When she reached the iron gate, she pressed the emergency override panel, praying the system hadn't been locked. The screen blinked red. Access denied. Her breath hitched. Logan had done this on purpose. He had trapped her. The storm raged harder, rain soaking through the thin blanket wrapped around her infant. Then, out of nowhere, headlights burst through the darkness. A black sedan screeched to a stop beside the gate. The driver's door swung open. A man stepped out, his coat whipping in the wind. And he spoke Claire's name softly, urgently, as if he had been waiting for this moment all along. "Claire, get in, now." But she had never seen this man before. Claire froze, clutching her newborn tighter as the stranger stepped into the beam of the headlights. Rain slid down his jaw, dripping from his dark hair, and for a moment she couldn't breathe. No one knew she was leaving. No one was supposed to know. Logan had cut her off from everyone, friends, co-workers, even the neighbors he pretended to be polite to. How did this man know her name? Her voice trembled. Who are you?" The man lifted his hands slightly, palms open, a gesture of safety. "My name is Evan Lockhart. Claire, you don't have time to hesitate. You and your baby aren't safe here." Safe. The word hit her like a blow. Nothing in Claire's 29 years had ever been truly safe. Not her childhood shuffled through foster homes. Not her teenage years hiding bruises from bullies. Not her marriage, wrapped in luxury but suffocating in control. And definitely not tonight, not when she had just watched her husband choose another woman over the fragile family they were supposed to be. She took a half step back. "Did Logan send you?" Evan's expression hardened. "If Logan had sent me, you'd already be in the back of that car with no way out. Claire, I'm here to help you. You don't know me, but I know what he's capable of." Lightning cracked overhead, illuminating the soaked gates behind her still locked. The mansion towered above them like a golden prison. Her baby whimpered, the tiny sound slicing straight through her fear. Claire swayed slightly, her legs were trembling. She hadn't fully recovered from the emergency delivery. The doctor had warned her, rest, avoid stress, keep calm. Tonight was the opposite of calm. Evan took a careful step closer. "Claire, you're barely standing. Please, let me take you somewhere safe, a hospital first, then somewhere Logan can't reach you." Her throat tightened. "I don't have money or ID. Logan has everything." "I know," Evan said softly. "That's why I came." Something in his tone, steady, gentle, almost familiar, pulled at her. She searched his face, trying to place the feeling. It wasn't recognition. It was something deeper, like a memory buried under years of trying to survive. A horn blared in the distance, another car approaching. Claire flinched. Evan's jaw clenched. "That's security. They'll take the baby if Logan orders it. You need to choose, right now." Claire looked back at the mansion, its warm lights glowing like the lie of a perfect life. Then she looked at her child, her entire world sleeping against her chest. She inhaled shakily and stepped toward Evan. His relief was quick but quiet. He opened the car door and shielded her from the rain as she slid into the back seat. The engine revved, but before the car could pull away, Claire heard footsteps pounding on the pavement. Someone was running toward them fast. and a woman's furious voice cut through the storm. "Don't let her leave. They can discover Joe." Claire turned and saw a silhouette she never expected. The figure running toward the gate was moving fast enough to splash water in all directions. Claire's heart pounded as she pulled the baby closer, praying he wouldn't wake. Evan leaned forward, one hand on the gear shift, watching the approaching silhouette with sharp, trained eyes. Then the woman stepped under the headlights, and Claire's blood ran cold. It was Veronica Hale, the Mercer Estates head of security and the one person Logan trusted with everything. Veronica was tall, athletic, her slick black raincoat clinging to her like armor. Her eyes, usually unreadable, burned with a cold fury. She slammed her fist on the gate. "Claire, you can't leave like this." Claire's breath hitched. Veronica never spoke loudly, never raised her voice. "So why now?" Evan muttered. "She's not here for you. She's here because Logan told her you're a flight risk." The word flight risk stabbed Claire with humiliation. That was how Logan saw her, not as a wife, not as a mother, but as someone who needed to be controlled. Contained. The storm whipped against the windshield, and in a flash of lightning, Claire could see the full view of the estate behind Veronica. Marble pillars wrapped in vines, the grand balcony overlooking the pool, the massive windows glowing gold from the chandeliers inside. A place that once felt like a dream, but had become a beautiful cage. Logan's cage. She remembered the early days' elegant dinners, sweet promises, the way he'd hold her hand as if she mattered more than the world. But the deeper she fell into his luxury, the more he tightened his grip. He monitored her accounts, tracked her phone, selected her clothes, and the mansion, with its Tiffany lamps and Mont Blanc pens scattered across desks, slowly turned into a silent warning. "Nothing here belongs to you. Not even your freedom." Veronica raised her voice again, this time sharper. "Claire, please think about what you're doing." But Claire had thought about it. Every night, every tear, every lie. Her baby stirred. Evan turned sharply. "Hold him tight. We're leaving." "This is Thumb X4. Veronica shouted something, but thunder swallowed her voice as the sedan shot forward. The gates, still locked, were no match for Evan's driving. He swerved sharply and took the side path, a narrow service road that curved around the hillside. "Logan won't let this go," Claire whispered. "He won't get the chance," Evan replied. The car sped down the slippery incline, Bel Air's mansions flashing by like silent witnesses. But halfway down the hill, Evan's expression shifted. Something was wrong. A pair of headlights appeared in the rearview mirror, fast, aggressive, gaining on them. "Is that security?" Claire asked, panic rising. Evan's jaw clenched. "No, that's not one of Logan's cars." The pursuing vehicle swerved closer, too close. And then Claire saw it, the driver leaning forward, face half lit by lightning. It was Sabrina Vale. And she looked absolutely unhinged. Sabrina's car jerked dangerously close, its high beams flooding the inside of Evan's sedan. Claire shielded her newborn's tiny face as Evan swerved sharply to keep distance. The winding Bel Air service road was never meant for high-speed chases, especially in a storm. Wind tore at the trees, rain hammered the asphalt, and Claire felt the whole world tilting beneath her. Sabrina rolled down her window despite the rain blasting into her car. Her voice cut through the storm like a knife. "Claire, pull over. You're making everything worse." Worse? The word stung. As if Claire were the one tearing families apart, as if she were the intruder in her own life. Evan didn't hesitate. "She's trying to force us into a crash. Hold on." Another swerve. Claire gasped, clutching her baby, praying he wouldn't wake. Every bump sent pain through her still healing body. She felt the stitches tug, reminding her of the emergency surgery she'd barely survived. Sabrina shouted again, hysterical. "Logan isn't done with you. You don't get to run. You don't get to take what's his." Claire's breath hitched. "His? This baby isn't something he owns." Evan replied tightly, eyes locked on the road. "That's how men like Logan think." A flash of lightning illuminated Sabrina's wild expression, mascara streaked, hair plastered to her face, desperation twisting her features. She didn't look glamorous anymore. She looked unhinged, cornered, dangerous. The road straightened for a moment. Evan accelerated. But Sabrina accelerated too. "Why is she doing this?" Claire whispered. "Because," Evan said, jaw clenched, "you leaving threatens everything she's trying to steal." Claire flinched. "She already has Logan." "No," Evan corrected softly. She wants his empire, his name, and she knows the only thing standing between her and that future is you. The words hit Claire like ice water. Then Sabrina's voice rose again, this time cracking. If you leave, he'll choose you. You don't understand what I've sacrificed. Evan muttered under his breath. She's losing control. The road curved sharply left. Evan slowed just enough to drift safely. Sabrina didn't. Her car skidded, tires screeching, fishtailing dangerously close to the cliffside guardrail. Claire gasped, watching the back of Sabrina's car spin out before she regained control with a violent jolt. Evan seized the chance, flooring the gas. That's our break. She won't catch up now. But Claire wasn't convinced. Sabrina was unpredictable. She had already crossed lines no one sane would cross. As they reached the bottom of the hill, the city lights of Los Angeles broke through the rain, shimmering like distant hope. Claire exhaled shakily for the first time all night. Then Evan's phone buzzed on the dash. He glanced at it and his face drained of color. Claire felt her stomach drop. What is it? Evan swallowed hard. It's a message from Logan. He knows exactly where we're going, and he's already waiting. Claire turned cold, realizing the trap she'd just driven into. Evan gripped the steering wheel tighter as they merged onto Sunset Boulevard, the storm beginning to ease but the danger only growing. Claire felt a fresh wave of panic rising inside her chest. If Logan knew where they were going, how? Her phone was off. Evan's car was unregistered under anything connected to her. She hadn't spoken to anyone, unless Logan had someone following her long before tonight. Her stomach churned. The sedan finally slowed as they turned into a quiet underground garage beneath a private medical clinic, one Evan trusted. The lights buzzed faintly overhead as he parked in a corner. Far from the entrance, Claire stepped out carefully, holding her baby close, her legs trembling from exhaustion. Evan placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. This clinic is discreet. No paparazzi, no records leaking out. You need to be checked physically and mentally. You've been through hell. Claire swallowed, nodding, though fear still clawed inside her. They entered through a side door, the scent of antiseptic soft but familiar. A nurse guided Claire to an exam room while Evan handled paperwork. But as Claire lay on the exam table, the doctor paused mid-check, her brow furrowing. Claire, your blood pressure is dangerously high. You need rest, and you need to avoid stress. Claire let out a shaky laugh. I left the father of my child tonight. He has power, money, and a mistress who tried to run us off the road. Stress is all I have. The doctor placed a gentle hand on her arm. Then let us protect you now. But protection was temporary. Because as soon as Claire stepped out into the hallway with her baby in her arms, a dozen flashes blinded her. Cameras, microphones, shouts. Claire, is it true you abducted your newborn? Is Logan pressing charges? Why did you flee the mansion? Is it postpartum psychosis? Claire's vision blurred. How did they get here so fast? Evan rushed forward, pushing through the crowd. Back up, she's not speaking to anyone. IFO'd. A reporter shoved a tablet inches from Claire's face. And on the screen was the viral headline burning across the internet. Claire Whitmore dangerous? Sources say, new mother is mentally unstable after trying to leave Mercer Estate. Her heart dropped. The photo attached was the worst part. A grainy shot of Claire crying in the nursery 2 nights ago. A moment she thought was private. A moment Logan had quietly watched through hidden cameras. The clinic's glass doors suddenly slid open again, and Logan stepped inside. Dry, composed, perfectly rehearsed for the cameras. He didn't look at Claire. Not at first. He addressed the media. Please forgive my wife, he said calmly. She's overwhelmed, and she needs medical treatment. Claire felt her knees buckle. Logan finally turned his eyes to her cold, victorious. And he whispered just loud enough for her to hear. You'll be coming home with me. And press. Evan stepped between them, his voice low and lethal. Over my dead body. Claire felt the world tilt as Evan positioned himself protectively between her and Logan. The bright lights from the paparazzi still flashed behind the glass doors, but inside the clinic, time seemed to freeze. Logan's face remained disturbingly calm, like he had expected every second of this scene. Step aside, Logan said, smoothing the sleeve of his tailored charcoal coat. My wife is unwell. She needs to be home. With her family. Family. That word twisted inside Claire like a blade. She fought to steady her breathing, but exhaustion washed over her in heavy waves. Her arms trembled from holding the baby too long. Her incision throbbed with each heartbeat. Her vision blurred again. Evan didn't move. "She's not going anywhere with you. Not tonight, not again." Logan's eyes narrowed just a fraction, but enough for Claire to feel ice crawl down her spine. "I'm warning you, Lockhart. You're interfering with my family business." "Your wife isn't a business," Evan snapped. Claire tried to step back, but the floor seemed to shift beneath her. A dizzy spell hit her so hard she had to lean against the wall. Her baby squirmed, sensing the tension. The doctor rushed over. "Claire, sit down. Your pressure's dropping again." But before Claire could reach the chair, Logan spoke loudly enough for the remaining press outside to hear. "See? She's unstable. This is why she can't care for a newborn alone." Something inside Claire cracked. She wasn't unstable. She was exhausted, betrayed, terrified, trapped. Her breath quickened, panic rising like floodwater. "Please, just stop," she whispered, clutching her baby as tears burned her eyes. The doctor caught her elbow. "Claire, breathe. You're going to faint." Logan stepped forward again. "Give me the baby. You need rest." The possessiveness in his voice nearly suffocated her. Every instinct in Claire's body screamed no, but her legs suddenly buckled. In a rush, Evan caught her before she crumpled. Hey, look at me. Claire, stay with me." The room spun. The ceiling lights blurred into streaks of white. She felt her baby slipping from her arms. "No," she cried weakly. Evan grabbed the child safely before he fell, holding him gently to his chest. Claire reached out shakily, but her fingers barely brushed the blanket. Logan lunged forward. "That's my son. Give him to me." The doctor blocked Logan with surprising force. "Mr. Mercer, step back. Claire is in medical distress and you are escalating her condition." Claire's vision dimmed. She felt herself sliding to the floor. Evan lowered beside her, his voice warm and steady. "You're not alone," he murmured. "I'm right here. He won't take you, or your son." Her eyelids fluttered. The world turned gray. And just before she lost consciousness entirely, Claire heard Veronica's voice echo from the entrance. "Logan, don't touch her. There are things you don't want the police to hear tonight." Claire's eyes snapped open just in time to see Logan's expression falter for the first time. Claire blinked hard, fighting the fog, clouding her mind as Veronica Hale stepped fully into the hallway. Her soaked raincoat dripped onto the clinic floor, but her expression was carved in stone. She wasn't here as Logan's guard dog. Something was different, dangerously different. Logan stiffened. "Veronica, you're out of line." She didn't flinch. "No, you are." Evan shifted Claire gently against him, still holding her baby securely. Claire could hear the rapid beat of her heart in her ears, each pulse throbbing with fear and confusion. Veronica's gaze flicked to Claire, and for the first time since Claire had known her, there was something like remorse in her eyes. "Mrs. Mercer, you need to know something. You were never supposed to see what you saw tonight." Claire's breath hitched. "You mean him with Sabrina?" "No." Veronica exhaled sharply. "Worse." Logan's voice sharpened. "Veronica, that's enough. You work for me." "Not anymore," she said quietly, pulling a small flash drive from her coat pocket. "I quit an hour ago." Claire stared, stunned. Veronica had worked for Logan for almost a decade. She had followed him through scandals, mergers, lawsuits, everything. Why abandon him now? Veronica continued. "Logan, you told the media Claire was unstable. You leaked footage of her crying in the nursery. You knew it would go viral." She shook her head. "But what you didn't expect was that I made a backup of every security file in that mansion, including the ones you deleted." Logan's eyes darkened. "You're making a mistake." "No," Veronica said. "You made the mistake when you ordered me to install that hidden camera in Claire's recovery room after she gave birth." Claire's stomach lurched violently. "You, what?" Veronica swallowed. "I didn't know he planned to use it against you. He said it was for safety. When I realized the truth, I couldn't unsee it." Evan's grip tightened protectively around Claire. "You have the footage?" "Yes." Veronica held out the flash drive to Evan. "Everything. It shows Sabrina provoking Claire. Logan yelling at her, him threatening to take the baby, Claire begging him to stop." Claire pressed a trembling hand to her mouth. She remembered those nights, the fear, the weakness, the humiliation, but she never knew anyone else had seen it, let alone filmed it. Logan lunged forward. "Give me that drive." Evan stepped between them. "Touch her, and I'll have you in cuffs before sunrise." Logan glared. "You have no idea who you're playing with." "I know exactly who," Evan shot back. "And soon the court will too." Before Logan could respond, the clinic doors burst open again. Heavy footsteps echoed down the hall. A uniformed officer strode inside, eyes scanning the room before landing directly on Claire. "Mrs. Mercer," he asked, "we have a report filed tonight, accusing you of kidnapping your own child." Claire felt the floor tilt beneath her again. The officer stepped closer. "I'm afraid you need to come with us." Claire's breath stopped because Logan was smiling. Claire's pulse hammered in her ears as the officer stepped forward, hand hovering near his cuffs. Evan moved instinctively, shielding her and the baby. Logan stood behind the officer, perfectly composed, hands folded behind his back, like a man observing a business transaction, not the destruction of his wife's life. "Officer," Evan said firmly, "the report is false. Mrs. Mercer is not fleeing with someone else's child. She is the child's mother." The officer hesitated. "Sir, the report states she is mentally unfit and acting erratically." Claire felt her throat close. That was the narrative Logan had built for months. Quietly, systematically, so that when he needed to, he could rip her apart with it. Veronica stepped forward. "I'm former head of security at the Mercer estate. I have proof this man has been manipulating and endangering his wife." But Logan laughed the same cold, dismissive laugh that had haunted Claire for years. "You mean the flash drive you stole? The one that's inadmissible because it violates privacy law?" He tilted his head mockingly. "You should know the rules better, Veronica." Veronica's face tightened. Claire's stomach twisted with dread. Evan didn't flinch. "Officer, I'm Claire's legal counsel. You cannot remove her from medical care without a judge's order, and she is in no condition to leave." The officer looked conflicted. Claire felt guilt and fear collide inside her. This wasn't a movie. This wasn't a dramatic twist. These were real people. Real laws. Real consequences. Then a soft voice broke through the chaos. "Excuse me, who filed the report?" A woman in a white coat stepped out, the clinic director. Her name badge read Dr. Harper Ellison, older, calm, authoritative. Logan smirked. "I did. I'm her husband." "But you're not her legal next of kin," Dr. Ellison said coolly. "Your marriage license has been flagged for investigation by the county clerk, and until that is resolved, Mr. Mercer, you have no legal authority to make medical decisions for her." Logan blinked. Just once. It was small, but Claire had never seen him caught off guard. "What investigation?" he demanded. Dr. Ellison folded her arms. "The clinic received a fax from the county registrar 10 minutes ago. They're reviewing claims that your marriage certificate was altered after filing." "And?" Claire's jaw dropped. "Altered?" Evan's eyes sharpened. "Who reported the discrepancy?" The doctor turned to Claire. "A woman named Melissa Rowan. She said you would need protection tonight." Claire's breath hitched. Melissa, Logan's ex-wife, the one who'd vanished without a trace. Logan's face drained of color. Before he could recover, Dr. Ellison stepped aside. "Until the county's review is complete, Mrs. Whitmore, not Mercer, cannot legally be detained or handed over." "Officer, please stand down." The officer nodded reluctantly and stepped back. Claire felt the first real breath she'd taken all night. But the relief shattered instantly when Evan's phone buzzed. He looked at the screen, and his expression froze. "It's Melissa," he said quietly. He held up the phone so Claire could see the message. "He's coming for you. Not Logan. Someone worse." Claire's blood ran cold as the hallway lights suddenly flickered. For a second, no one moved. The fluorescent lights buzzed above them, flickering once, twice, like a warning. Claire tightened her hold on her baby, her heartbeat thundering in her ears. "Someone worse?" Claire whispered. "Worse than Logan?" Evan read the message again, jaw tightening. Melissa wouldn't use those words lightly. "Whoever she means, we need to leave. Now." Logan stepped forward, regaining his confidence. "Don't be dramatic. Melissa has always been unstable. That's why our marriage ended." "If you do understand," Veronica scoffed. "Your marriage ended because you lied, manipulated, and nearly destroyed her life. Just like you're doing to Claire." Logan didn't even look her way. His gaze stayed glued to Claire, cold, proprietary, furious that his plan was unraveling. "You're exhausted, Claire. That's all this is. Give me the baby, and say one more word, Evan snapped, and I'll bury you in enough legal trouble to keep you in court until you're old. Thanks for watching. Something shifted in Logan's eyes, not fear, but calculation. We're leaving, Evan said, moving toward the exit. Veronica, flank us. Veronica nodded and checked the hallway. The clinic staff watched nervously as the small group hurried down the corridor. Claire tried to steady her breath, but Melissa's message kept repeating in her mind. Someone worse. Someone coming. Tonight, the elevator was too slow, so they took the stairs. Every footstep echoed like a countdown. At the bottom, Veronica pushed open the emergency door leading to the underground parking lot. Cold air blasted their faces. For a moment, the garage looked empty, silent, dim, harmless. Then Claire saw it. A man leaning against a concrete pillar, dressed in a dark suit, shirt unbuttoned at the top, rainwater still dripping from his shoulders. A cigarette glowed faintly between his fingers. He wasn't security. He wasn't press. He was watching them, only them, like a hunter studying prey. Who is that? Claire whispered. Veronica's posture went rigid. Oh God, no. Evan's voice dropped into a deadly, quiet tone. Claire, get behind me. Logan exhaled sharply, suddenly pale. You shouldn't be here. The man flicked his cigarette onto the wet concrete, crushing it under his heel. His voice was smooth, low, familiar in a way that chilled Claire's blood. You owe money, Logan. A lot of it. And tonight's the deadline. And for. Claire's stomach twisted so violently she thought she might collapse. This man wasn't a business associate. He wasn't a rival. He wasn't a friend. He was a debt collector from the world Logan pretended he never touched. The man stepped closer, eyes sliding to Claire with unsettling interest. So this is the wife, he said softly, the one worth running from. Evan moved instantly, shielding her. Back off. But the man only smiled. And from behind a nearby SUV, 2 more men stepped out. Claire's breath froze in her chest. Because all 3 of them were carrying weapons. And their eyes were on her baby. Claire's heart slammed against her ribs as the 3 armed men stepped forward, their boots echoing across the concrete. Instinctively, she pulled her newborn closer, her arms trembling from fear and the weakness still lingering from childbirth. Evan positioned himself like a shield, but Claire knew the truth. He was only one man. And these men weren't here for negotiation. The leader tilted his head at Logan. Where's the money? Logan swallowed. I need more time. You've had 6 months. The man glanced at Claire's baby. And now you're running around with distractions. Claire felt the room tilt. She had suspected Logan was corrupt, but she never imagined this. Debt, criminal ties, dangerous men hunting him. And now hunting her. Veronica raised a hand slowly, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. Look, you don't want to do this here. Too many cameras, too many witnesses. The man smirked. We cut the security feed the moment we walked in. Evan muttered under his breath, Damn it, Claire, stay behind me. But Claire felt something shifting inside her, something she hadn't felt in years. Defiance. She was done being the quiet wife, done being controlled, done being hunted. Her voice shook, but she forced the words out. If you need money, take Logan. Leave my baby alone. Logan snapped his head toward her. Claire, shut up. You don't understand. No, she cut him off. You don't understand. I warned you, I begged you, and you threw me away. The leader studied her with unexpected curiosity. Feisty. I like her. Evan tensed. Don't even look at her. The man ignored him and stepped closer, too close. Claire backed up, hitting the cold concrete wall. Her baby whimpered. Panic clawed at her throat. Let's make this simple, the man said softly. Come with us voluntarily, Mrs. Mercer. And, she's not Mrs. Mercer. A voice cut in from behind. All heads whipped toward the stairwell door. Melissa Rowan stood there, dripping rain, breathing hard, clutching a thick folder to her chest. Her eyes were blazing. Logan's ex-wife. The ghost Claire never expected to see in the flesh. The leader clicked his tongue. Ah, the first Mrs. Mercer. We remember you. Melissa stepped forward, chin high. And I remember everything you forced Logan into. But tonight? That ends. She tossed the folder onto the floor. Papers spilled everywhere, signed statements, account numbers, copies of emails, evidence. Logan forged our marriage license, Melissa said breathlessly, and he did the same to Claire. Neither marriage is legally binding. Claire's stomach dropped. Evan's eyes widened. That means, Claire, you're not tied to him at all. Not legally, not financially. And more importantly, Melissa added, glaring at Logan, you have no claim to her child. Logan's face twisted. Melissa, you insane. Shut up, she snapped. I'm done being scared of you. The leader nudged a paper with his boot. Interesting. But it doesn't solve his debt. Melissa stepped closer, voice firm. Maybe not, but I know exactly where the rest of his hidden accounts are. The leader raised an eyebrow. Meaning? Meaning, Melissa said, you don't need Claire, or her baby. The garage fell silent. For a moment, it seemed like everything might shift in their favor, until one of the armed men suddenly grabbed Claire from behind. A hand clamped over her mouth. Her baby screamed. Evan spun around too late as the man hissed. We're taking them anyway. Claire's scream was trapped beneath the man's hand as he yanked her backward, her newborn's cries echoing through the cold garage. Panic detonated inside her chest, every instinct firing at once. Evan lunged, but another man stepped in his path, slamming him against a parked SUV with brutal force. Let her go, Evan snarled, struggling to break free. The leader lifted a finger calmly. Everyone relax. We don't want blood. We want leverage. Claire trembled violently as the man's grip tightened around her waist. Her baby wailed, tiny fists flailing helplessly. The fear was suffocating, but beneath it, something fiercer began to burn. Rage. A mother's rage. Logan stepped forward, voice shaking despite his forced calm. Let her go. Take me instead. The leader chuckled. We'll take whoever brings us money fastest. Right now, that's her. Why her? Logan barked. The man smirked. Because you care enough about her child to pay anything to get them back. Claire felt sick. Logan didn't care about her. Not truly. But the baby? The heir? That was different. That child carried his name, his legacy, his empire. And these men knew it. Melissa pushed forward, voice sharp and terrified. You don't need the baby. Logan has offshore accounts. I can show you where. We already tapped those months ago, the leader interrupted. He's out. Veronica slowly reached for her holster. Listen, but the man holding Claire pressed a cold metal object to her side. Don't. Claire froze. Her baby's cry pierced the air like shattered glass. Evan, breathless but determined, rasped, If you touch her, I swear. Oh, shut up, the leader muttered. You lawyers always think words can stop bullets. Claire's vision blurred as fear and adrenaline mixed in her veins. She wasn't ready to die, and she wasn't letting anyone take her child. Not Logan, not Sabrina, and not these monsters. Suddenly, tires screeched at the far end of the garage. Headlights blinded everyone. A black SUV burst through the entrance, fishtailing before skidding to a hard stop. Doors flew open. 3 uniformed officers jumped out, weapons drawn. Put the woman down. Chaos exploded. The man restraining Claire jerked back, dragging her with him as a shield. Evan lunged again. Veronica drew her firearm. Melissa screamed Logan's name as he bolted behind a pillar like a coward. The leader cursed. We're leaving now. Claire's captor pulled her toward a utility exit. She stumbled, her body screaming in pain, desperate to shield her baby from the rain of chaos around her. But just as the door swung open, a gunshot cracked. A scream followed. Claire didn't know who'd been hit. Her captor released her in shock. She hit the ground hard, curling around her baby. And when she looked up, one of the officers was reaching for her. But standing behind him was Sabrina Vale, holding a gun, pointed directly at Claire. You should have stayed quiet, Sabrina hissed. For a split second, the world went silent. No footsteps, no shouting, no echoes of chaos. Just the faint ringing in Claire's ears as she stared at Sabrina Vale, standing in the dim garage with a trembling gun aimed at her chest. Water dripped from Sabrina's designer coat, mascara streaking down her face like black tears. Her breaths were ragged, unstable, dangerous. Put the weapon down, one of the officers shouted, inching forward. Sabrina didn't blink. Stay back, all of you. She ruined everything. Claire held her newborn close, heart pounding. Sabrina, you don't have to do this, please. Oh, but I do. Sabrina took a shaky step forward, gun still locked on Claire. I spent years building Logan's image, cleaning up his messes, covering his debt. I finally had him. I was this close to getting the ring, The mansion, the title, and then you came back into the picture. Claire trembled. I never wanted any of that. Daza. Liar. Sabrina's voice cracked, echoing through the garage. He chose you. Even tonight, even after everything, he said he needed to fix things with you. Fix things? Fix what? Logan, still cowering behind a pillar, dared to speak. Sabrina, put the gun down. You're making this worse. For you, maybe, she hissed. But not for me. Evan, bruised and breathless, slowly stepped between Claire and the gun barrel. Sabrina, look at me. If you shoot Claire, you lose everything. Logan won't save you. He never intended to. Sabrina's lip quivered. The gun wavered just an inch. Shut up, she whispered. You're lying. No, Veronica said quietly, emerging from behind a car door, hands raised. He's telling the truth. Logan's marriage certificate to Claire wasn't legal, and neither was yours. He promised both of you the same life. Sabrina's eyes snapped toward Logan. Is that true? Logan paled. I was going to fix it. We just needed time. Wrong answer. Sabrina's rage exploded. She swung the gun toward Logan. But in that moment, Melissa moved. She lunged forward, grabbing Sabrina's wrist. A struggle broke out, the gun twisting between their hands. Claire shielded her baby as the women slammed into a nearby car. A deafening bang. The bullet ricocheted off concrete. Sabrina screamed and shoved Melissa away. She spun toward Claire again, gun shaking wildly. You should have stayed out of this, Sabrina cried. You were supposed to be weak. You were supposed to disappear. Evan stepped in front of Claire again, but Sabrina's hand steadied, and she pulled the trigger. The garage echoed with the blast. But instead of pain, Claire heard a body hit the floor. Sabrina gasped. Her gun clattered to the ground. Because someone had taken the bullet meant for Claire. Claire turned and saw who it was, lying motionless on the concrete. Claire's scream ripped from her throat as she fell to her knees, clutching her newborn tight. The world blurred shouts, footsteps, ringing ears, but her eyes locked on the figure collapsing in front of her. Melissa Rowan, Logan's first wife. The woman who had warned her. The woman who had fought for her. Melissa lay on the concrete, blood blooming across her shoulder, soaking into her rain-drenched coat. She tried to push herself up, but her arm buckled beneath her. A strangled gasp left her lips. Melissa! Claire cried, voice breaking. Evan rushed to Melissa's side, pressing his hand against the wound. Stay with me, look at me, breathe. Sabrina staggered backward, staring at her own trembling hands as if she couldn't comprehend the gun she had fired. No, 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 she wasn't supposed to jump in, this wasn't. Veronica moved fast. She kicked the gun away, sending it skittering across the floor, then slammed Sabrina face first onto the hood of a car, cuffing her with zip ties in one fluid motion. You're done, Veronica hissed. Sabrina writhed, mascara streaking down her cheeks. He lied to me. He lied to all of us. I did everything for him. Logan finally emerged from behind the pillar, face pale, hands raised slightly as though he were the victim. Sabrina, sweetheart, calm down. You're confused. Confused, Sabrina shrieked, trying to twist toward him. You promised me everything. You said Claire was temporary. And you believed that? Veronica snapped. Claire forced herself to her feet, her legs shaking, her baby still crying softly against her chest. She faced Sabrina, this woman who had tormented her, stalked her, nearly killed her. You almost destroyed my family, Claire whispered. You almost killed Melissa. You came after my baby. Why? Sabrina's chest heaved, her eyes wild. Because he was mine. He said I'd be the next Mrs. Mercer. He said she'd disappear. He said I deserved the life she stole. Claire stared at her. Logan stole your sanity, not me. Sabrina lunged forward in her restraints, eyes burning with manic fury. You don't understand what he promised me. No, Claire said softly, but I understand what he took from me. Evan lifted Melissa gently as paramedics finally poured into the garage. Sirens wailed outside. Officers spread out, shouting commands. The chaos swirled around them, but Claire's focus stayed locked on Sabrina. Sabrina's voice dropped into a whisper, empty, broken, terrifying. He loved me. He said he did. Veronica pulled Claire aside, lowering her voice. She's not done. That woman will try to ruin you in every way she still can. Claire turned toward Logan, now surrounded by officers, arguing, pointing, scrambling to regain control. Her heart hardened. "I'm not afraid of her anymore," she said quietly. "Or him." But just as Claire stepped toward Evan and Melissa, an officer approached her with urgent eyes. "Ma'am, we need to talk to you. Now." And 8. Claire stiffened. "About what?" The officer lifted an evidence bag. Inside was a small black device. A hidden recorder. "Ma'am," he said, "this was found strapped under your baby's carrier." Claire felt the blood drain from her face because someone had been recording her every move. And it wasn't Sabrina. Claire stared at the small black recorder inside the evidence bag, her pulse thudding in her ears. The officer held it carefully, as if it were something explosive. "We found this taped under the baby carrier," he said. "It's been recording for hours, maybe days." Claire felt sick. Days? But who would even? "It's not one of ours," Veronica muttered, frowning. "And Sabrina didn't know about it. Her chaos isn't this quiet." Evan stepped closer, examining the device. "This isn't cheap or common. Whoever planted it had access and planning." Claire's breath trembled. "Logan?" All eyes shifted toward him as officers cuffed his wrists. Logan looked back at Claire, no shame, no regret, just that familiar coldness. But then he said something that froze the entire garage. "That's not mine. I don't use amateurs." Claire's stomach dropped. Evan tensed. Melissa, pale and bleeding but conscious on a stretcher, whispered faintly, "Check the back. There's a symbol." Veronica flipped the recorder over. A small silver emblem glinted beneath the harsh fluorescent lights. A serpent curled around a shield. Veronica inhaled sharply. "Oh no." "What is it?" Claire whispered. "Logan didn't plant this," Veronica said, voice low. "But someone from the Mercer board did. The serpent emblem belongs to Argon Dynamics, Logan's biggest rival, the board members who wanted him gone. They've been watching his home for months." Claire's mind reeled. The cameras, the leaked footage, Sabrina's perfectly timed meltdown going viral, Logan's sudden financial collapse. None of it was coincidence. "They've been recording you," Evan said slowly, "to build a case that Logan is unfit to run Mercer Group. They wanted proof he couldn't control his household, his wife, his personal life." Claire felt chills crawl up her spine. "So, they used my suffering as evidence?" "Yes," Veronica said quietly, "and they used your baby to do it." Claire's heart cracked open. Rage real, burning, righteous rose in her chest, stronger than fear, deeper than pain. She stood straighter. "I am done being a pawn," she said, voice steady. "Logan controlled me, Sabrina hunted me, and now strangers are exploiting my baby to destroy him? No, this ends now." Evan met her eyes with a rare, gentle smile. "That's the Claire I remember." She blinked. "Remember?" Before she could ask, paramedics began loading Melissa into the ambulance. Melissa reached out, gripping Claire's wrist weakly. "Finish it," she whispered, "for all of us." End quote. End quote. Claire nodded, tears burning her eyes not from fear, but from clarity. She turned to the officers. "I want to press charges. Against Logan, against Sabrina, and I want every file from that recorder on the record." The officer nodded. "Understood." But before they could move, a junior officer rushed in, breathless. "We have a problem." Everyone turned. The officer swallowed hard. "Mrs. Whitmore, your baby's medical bracelet is missing." Claire's blood ran cold. Her newborn had been marked, tracked by someone still out there. Claire felt her knees weaken as the words sank in her baby's medical bracelet was gone. That bracelet held his ID chip, his patient number, and the code that allowed only authorized medical staff to handle him. Without it, he was vulnerable. Too vulnerable. "Search the entire garage," Veronica ordered sharply. "No one leaves." Officers scattered. Evan placed a steadying hand on Claire's back. "We'll find it, I promise." Thanks for watching. If you were us. But Claire's fear had already hardened into something sharper. Every threat, every manipulation, every person who had tried to control her life led to this moment. And she was done running. Within 48 hours, after Melissa's surgery and after Sabrina was officially charged, Claire received an urgent call from Evan. "It's starting," he said. "The board is using the footage. They've pushed for an emergency hearing in court. Logan will try to flip the narrative. We need to get ahead of him. Henzer. Claire took a long, shaky breath. Let's do it. The courthouse in downtown Los Angeles buzzed with reporters, the sidewalks flooded with cameras and microphones. As Claire stepped out of the black SUV, her baby cradled gently against her chest, the world erupted in flashes. Headlines were already swirling. Mercer CEO, accused of manipulation. Baby endangered in Mercer estate, chaos. Logan Mercer arrive with his fiancée? Claire's stomach turned as she saw Logan stepping out of a sleek town car, with Sabrina bandaged but smirking, clinging to his arm like she owned him. Even after shooting Melissa, Sabrina acted like the victim. Evan leaned toward Claire. Let them perform. Today, facts matter. Inside the courtroom, tensions snapped like live wires. Claire took her seat beside Evan. Across the aisle, Logan sat rigid, jaw clenched, Sabrina whispering into his ear. Several board members filled the back row, their eyes calculating every detail. The judge entered. Silence fell. Case number 47-91, the clerk announced. Petitioner, Claire Whitmore. Respondent, Logan Mercer. Logan's lawyer rose first, slick and confident. Your Honor, my client seeks immediate custody of his newborn son, citing the mother's unstable mental condition. Evan stood. Objection. We have documented evidence that Mr. Mercer fabricated those claims. And where exactly, Logan's attorney sneered, did that evidence come from? Evan lifted the flash drive Veronica had given him, from Mr. Mercer's own security system. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. The judge leaned forward. Play the footage. And $40. One by one, the clips projected across the screen. Logan yelling at Claire while she cried. Sabrina throwing objects at her. Logan threatening to take the baby. Claire curled on the nursery floor, begging to be left alone. The courtroom fell into a horrified silence. Then the judge spoke cold, sharp, decisive. This footage alone is grounds for temporary full custody to the mother. Sabrina's face drained of color. Logan shot to his feet. This is manipulated, he shouted. She set me up. But before he could say another word, the judge raised a hand. And now there is one more piece of evidence. An officer walked forward, placing a plastic evidence bag on the judge's bench. Inside was the missing baby bracelet. But attached to it was something else. A business card, with one handwritten sentence. We're not done. Claire's breath caught because the card didn't belong to Logan, Sabrina, or the board. It belonged to someone she never expected. The courtroom froze. Every eye locked onto the evidence bag resting on the judge's bench. The missing baby bracelet glinted under the fluorescent lights, but it was the business card beside it that made Claire's pulse stop. A matte black card. Minimal lettering. Cold, precise. Argon Dynamics. The same serpent and shield emblem from the recorder. Evan leaned closer, voice low. They weren't just watching your home. They were tracking your child. Claire swallowed hard, her fingers tightening protectively around her baby. Why? Why him? Before Evan could answer, the judge cleared her throat sharply. Mr. Mercer, she said, you will explain immediately why a rival corporation had physical possession of your newborn's medical identification. Logan's face went bone white. Panic sparked behind his eyes, real panic, not the performative kind he used to sway the press. His lawyer stammered, Your Honor, my client has no knowledge. Don't lie for him. Melissa's voice suddenly called from the back. Heads turned as she entered the courtroom, arm in a sling, face pale but determined. The bailiff tried to stop her, but she lifted her good hand. I have information relevant to this case. The judge nodded. Proceed. Melissa's gaze locked on Logan, an unwavering stare forged from years of surviving him. The board didn't track the baby because they hate Logan, she said. They tracked him because Logan offered the child as collateral. The courtroom exploded into gasps. Claire's heart slammed painfully. What? Melissa stepped forward, voice steady. Logan needed money. A lot of it. His debts were bigger than any of us knew. And when the board refused to bail him out again, he made a promise. If he couldn't pay, they could take the baby temporarily publicity leverage, he called it. Something to manipulate shareholder sympathy. Claire felt like she'd been punched. Evan shot to his feet. That's human trafficking. I know what it is, Melissa snapped, tears burning in her eyes. That's why I came. He did the same to me when I was pregnant. I lost my baby because of him. The courtroom went silent. Claire's knees weakened. Evan steadied her immediately, rage crackling through him. The judge's voice was ice. "Mr. Mercer, step forward." End quote. Logan shook his head, sweating now. "This is insane. They're lying. All of them." "Enough," the judge said. 2 officers approached. Logan backed away, wild-eyed. No, I did everything for this family. She was the one who ran. She." "Mr. Mercer," the judge interrupted, "you are under arrest for endangerment, coercion, fraud, and conspiracy." Logan lunged toward Claire, face twisted. "You ruined me." Evan stepped in front of her instantly. Officers tackled Logan to the floor. Screaming, thrashing, rage. It was over. Almost. Because just as Logan was dragged from the courtroom, still shouting, an officer rushed in from the hall, breathless. "Your Honor," he called out, "we have a situation." The judge frowned. "What now?" The officer pointed at Claire. "A woman is in the lobby demanding to see her. She says she's the baby's biological mother." Action. Claire felt the entire world tilt because she knew that voice could only belong to one person she prayed would never return. Claire's breath caught in her throat. The courtroom, already suffocating with tension, seemed to tilt as the officer's words echoed. "A woman is claiming to be the child's biological mother." "No," Claire whispered, hugging her newborn tighter. "That's impossible. Impossible." Evan rose beside her immediately. "We need confirmation. Now. Wash and presses." The judge gestured to the bailiff. "Bring her in." The doors swung open. A woman stepped inside, drenched from rain, shaking, hair clinging to her cheeks. Her eyes were hollow with exhaustion, but familiar, too familiar. It was Jenna Ward. Claire felt her knees weaken. Jenna had once been part of Logan's PR team, quiet, shy, barely noticeable. A few months into Claire's pregnancy, she vanished from the company with no explanation. Claire never thought twice about it. Until now. Jenna's voice cracked. "Claire, please, don't hate me." Evan stepped forward defensively. "State your claim." Tears spilled down Jenna's face. "Logan used me, manipulated me. 2 years ago, he forced me into an IVF program he secretly funded. He told me it was a fertility trial. I didn't know," she sobbed. "I didn't know he planned to create a backup heir." Claire's stomach churned. "A backup?" Jenna nodded violently. "But something went wrong. I miscarried early, and Logan blamed me, fired me, blacklisted me. But I overheard him say he'd try again. And when I saw your baby on the news, wrapped in the same blanket the lab used, I thought he'd stolen my child." Claire felt sick. "This baby is mine. I carried him. I nearly died giving birth." Jenna shook her head. "I know that now. But I didn't then. I was desperate." "So you planted the recorder?" Evan asked. "No," Jenna cried. "I only followed you today because Logan told me you'd stolen his baby. He said the child was biologically his and mine. He lied to me, just like he lied to everyone." Veronica stepped forward, cold fury in her voice. "We can run a DNA test. Right now." Jenna nodded numbly. "Do it. I need to know the truth." The judge agreed. "We'll recess for 90 minutes while the expedited test is performed." Jenna collapsed into a seat, shaking uncontrollably. Claire stood frozen, her mind fractured between fear and fury. Evan placed a hand on her arm. "Claire, listen to me. Whatever this test shows, your motherhood isn't defined by chromosomes." Her voice quivered. "But if Logan somehow—" "He didn't," Evan said firmly. "I was there when your doctor performed the first scan. This baby is yours. Period." But Claire couldn't breathe until she knew. 90 minutes later, the court reconvened. The judge opened the folder containing the DNA results. The room fell silent. She read the first line. Then her eyes widened. This is unprecedented. If Demanger, Claire's heart stopped. The judge lifted her gaze. The child is not biologically related to Jenna Ward. Relief hit Claire so hard she nearly collapsed. But the judge wasn't finished. And the child is also not biologically related to Logan Mercer. A stunned gasp rippled through the courtroom. Claire's hand flew to her mouth. "Then who?" Evan whispered. The judge turned the page slowly. "It appears the father is someone else entirely." She met Claire's eyes. "Someone in this courtroom." Claire felt the world shatter as every gaze turned toward Evan. For a heartbeat, the courtroom turned to stone. Every breath, every whisper, every shifting footstep seemed to freeze as dozens of eyes swung toward Evan. He stood silent, stunned, as though someone had ripped the floor out from beneath him. Claire couldn't speak. Her baby stirred in her arms, tiny fists curling, unaware that his entire identity had just been rewritten. The judge tapped the paper again. The DNA profile clearly indicates a paternal match with Mr. Evan Lockhart. A ripple of gasps swept through the courtroom. Claire felt her chest tighten. Evan? How is that even possible? Evan swallowed hard, taking a single step toward her, but slowly, cautiously, like approaching something fragile. Claire, he said quietly, I swear I didn't know. None of this was planned. You have to believe me. Thanks. Claire's mind spun back. To the fertility treatments, the unexplained injection her OB mistakenly gave her at the start of her pregnancy, the sudden switch in donor vials the clinic had brushed off as a labeling mix-up. Oh God. The clinic mix-up wasn't a mix-up. Logan had secretly paid the clinic to use his genetic material for a donor override, but Argonne Dynamics, the board, must have interfered, swapping Logan's override sample with something else. Evans. Claire felt dizzy. You mean the board stole your DNA? How? Veronica spoke up softly. Evan donated to a genetic research registry years ago. It's secure, except Argonne hacked it last year during their data breach. They had access to thousands of samples. Claire looked at Evan, tears burning her eyes. You didn't know, and I didn't know, and yet, he nodded, heart in his eyes. He's mine, but he's yours first, always. Bored? Claire held her baby tighter, emotion swelling inside her, not fear, but something gentler, something terrifyingly hopeful. Before she could say another word, the judge continued. With these results, Mr. Mercer has no biological or legal claim to the child. Logan, restrained by officers near the exit, thrashed violently. No, that child was supposed to be mine. You rigged it, all of you. The judge ignored him. Effective immediately, custody is awarded solely to Miss Whitmore. Mr. Lockhart may pursue paternal rights if he chooses. Evan didn't look at the judge. His gaze remained on Claire. I won't pursue anything, he said softly. Not unless you want me to. This is your life, Claire, your freedom. And I'm not taking anything from you. I'm here to give back what the world took. Claire's heart cracked open. For the first time in years, she felt safe, truly safe. But just as she exhaled, believing the nightmare was ending, the courtroom doors burst open. A paramedic rushed in, pale and shaking. Judge, we need Miss Whitmore immediately. It's about Melissa Rowan. Claire's stomach dropped. Melissa? What happened? The paramedic hesitated, eyes full of dread. She woke up asking for you, and she said she remembered something. Something about your baby. The hospital room smelled faintly of antiseptic and rain-soaked air drifting through the cracked window. Claire rushed inside, her baby in her arms, Evan close behind. Melissa lay propped up against a stack of pillows, her arm in a sling, cheeks pale but eyes clear. She looked alive, barely, but alive. Melissa, Claire whispered, approaching her bedside. Melissa's gaze softened. You came. I wasn't sure, after everything. Claire shook her head. You saved my life. Twice. Of course I came. Melissa let out a shaky exhale. I remembered something. Something important. Something I didn't realize mattered until now. Evan stepped forward. Take your time. We're here. Melissa swallowed. Months ago, after Logan fired me, Sabrina found me. She said she felt sorry for me. She offered money to disappear quietly. But when I refused, she warned me that Logan wasn't finished experimenting with replacements. Claire stiffened. Replacements? Melissa nodded. She said he didn't trust you. Said he wanted multiple backup heirs in case you ever left. She hinted he wasn't planning to stop at IVF donations. He was considering something darker. Something illegal. Evan's jaw clenched. Trafficking. Melissa nodded weakly. Yes, when I saw your baby tonight, I knew the timeline didn't match the IVF cycle I did. That's why I panicked. But Sabrina, she mentioned someone else. Someone who helped Logan get access to donor samples. Claire felt a chill spread down her spine. Who? Melissa reached for Claire's hand. Your OB-GYN, Dr. Klein. Claire's breath hitched. No, she saved my life during childbirth. It not has messen it too more. She also accepted a private donation from the Mercer Foundation, Melissa whispered. A large one. Sabrina bragged about it. Something about clean paperwork to ensure the baby carried the Mercer legacy. Claire's heart thudded painfully. Had her doctor been involved? Had she known? Had she been part of the override attempt that Argon Dynamics intercepted? Evan's voice was steady but sharp. We'll open an investigation. Every record, every signature. If Dr. Klein violated procedure, she'll be held accountable. Melissa nodded, tears filling her eyes. I needed you to know before it was too late. Claire squeezed her hand. Thank you for everything. A long silence settled over the room, soft, heavy, healing. Then Melissa whispered, Claire, what will you do now? Claire looked down at her baby safe, warm, sleeping against her chest. She looked at Evan, steady, patient, loyal, waiting for her to choose her own life. She inhaled deeply. I'm starting over, she said, not running, not hiding, building something real, for him and for me. Melissa smiled faintly. Good. A knock sounded at the door. A nurse stepped in. Miss Whitmore, there's someone who insists on seeing you. Claire frowned. Who? The nurse hesitated. He says he's family. Claire exchanged a confused look with Evan. The nurse opened the door wider, and an older man stepped inside, soaked from the storm, clutching a worn envelope. He looked at Claire with trembling eyes. Claire, I'm your father. For a moment, Claire couldn't breathe. The man standing at the door, gray hair, rain dripping from his jacket, hands trembling around a worn envelope, felt like a ghost from a life she never had. Her father, the man she'd spent years believing abandoned her. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, he said softly, voice cracking, but I need you to know, I never stopped looking for you. Claire swallowed hard. You left me. I grew up alone. I went through hell alone. Tears filled his eyes. Your mother took you and disappeared before I could fight for custody. By the time I found the foster records, you were already moved 3 times. Every time I got close, you were gone again. And then I heard what happened with Logan. I came as fast as I could. Evan stepped slightly closer to Claire, a protective presence. Her baby stirred, sensing the shift in emotion. Why now? Claire whispered. After all these years? Her father opened the envelope with shaking hands. Inside were photographs, old hospital bracelets, a birth certificate, letters he had written but never mailed. Because I didn't want you to think you were alone anymore, he said. Not when the whole world seemed against you. Claire felt something inside her soften, not forgiveness yet, but recognition. Pain, recognizing pain. A daughter recognizing a father who had also lived with loss. She took a long breath. We can talk, but slowly. I have a child now, and my life is finally safe. Her father nodded. Whatever you need, whatever pace you choose. Evan spoke gently. Claire, you don't have to decide everything today. She turned to him. I know. The room filled with a quiet warmth, no chaos, no shouting, no threats. Just relief. Healing. New beginnings. A nurse entered with final discharge papers for Melissa, who offered Claire a small, tired smile. Go live your life, she said. Don't let our stories end the same way. Claire squeezed her hand. They won't. Later that week, beneath a soft Manhattan sunset along the Hudson River, Claire stood in a simple white dress, her baby in her arms. Evan waited for her under a small arch draped with flowers. No grand spectacle, no flashing cameras, just peace. Are you sure? Evan asked softly, voice filled with sincerity. I don't ever want to be another person who takes from you. Claire stepped into his arms. You didn't take anything. You gave me back my life. Their vows were quiet, intimate, honest. A promise of partnership, not possession. A promise to protect, not control. As they exchanged rings, Claire felt the weight of years finally lift. Foster homes, loneliness, Logan's cruelty, Sabrina's obsession. All of it washed away in the glow of a future she chose for herself. Her baby giggled, reaching up toward Evan. Claire kissed her son's forehead, whispering, You're safe. We're safe. Tenry. The small gathered circle, Veronica, Melissa, her father, clapped gently as Claire and Evan sealed their vows with a kiss. A new family. A new beginning. A new life built from ashes. Far away, Logan sat in a cold federal cell, stripped of power, stripped of legacy, left with nothing but the consequences of his own cruelty. Justice had arrived. Love had prevailed. And Claire's story finally closed with light. Because sometimes the most beautiful endings are the ones we rebuild ourselves. So, that's where our story ends, my wonderful friends. And if you're still here with me right now, listening until the very last breath of this journey, then something in Claire's fight must have touched your heart in a way words can't quite describe. Maybe it reminded you of your own strength, or of the storms you've survived in silence. Life isn't gentle with any of us, but as Marcus Aurelius said, what stands in the way becomes the way. Claire's pain didn't break her, it shaped her. It taught her that love isn't supposed to cage you, it's supposed to free you. And maybe that's the lesson for all of us. You can lose everything and still rise. You can be betrayed and still love again. You can be shattered and still rebuild yourself into something stronger. If this story gave you even a little courage, a little comfort, or a little reminder that you deserve peace, then stay with us. Like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, and don't forget to subscribe so we can walk through more journeys together. Because healing feels a little easier when we don't walk alone.